Yeah. Finally, finally. Chega de outra amiga que eu tô bem radiada, sem escrito. Não vou pagar com isso aqui, mulher.
Non sa microfono utile. Bua ke le sa le mo go nne.
I kere o batla go bua ke go sa
Go tla tulela
2000.
2000 le sengwe. Kana ke 2.3.
My one and
Scala tsenya mo video ba ge.
Good evening, everyone. Guillaume, can I just ask if you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
Hello,
thank you.
Yoko. Yes, we can hear you.
Good, thank you
Yes,
so
I
much.
can hear you. All right.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you
Yes,
so much.
indeed, I can hear you.
Thank you. There's still a lot of people joining. I'm just going to give 2 minutes and then we'll start. I will just request that we keep ourselves muted throughout the conversation at the start so that we can hear everyone. And then at the end, when we have space for questions, then you can unmute yourself and ask the relevant question. So we'll just give it 2 minutes and then we'll start.
What's another?
Ya, digo, todo no hay que lo.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that you're all well. Goeienaand almal en welkom by ons sessie vanaand. I must also say I'm unsure if our colleagues from Angola or Mozambique will call it boa tarde or boa noite now. Here in the Cape, it's already, or it's not even dark yet, so it's still, I think, boa tarde here, but sometime or some places in Africa, I think it's already boa noite. So welcome, everyone. You joined this evening to find out more about the UCCSA's new courses in online training that we are presenting from Hugenote College. And throughout tonight, we are going to welcome a few of our colleagues that are going to speak to us and present some information so that we can give you the necessary tools to discern your own calling and your role in the church and community, and that we can start with a formal process of theological training. Before I invite our dean to welcome us, I would just like to say that this meeting is being recorded. So if you have problems staying connected, then we will use the same email list that you received this link by, and receiving the link for this recording so that you can watch it on a later stage, or if you need to watch it again. So with that being said, I would just like to welcome Dr. Jolanda Steenkamp. She is the captain of our ship at the Hugenote College. She's the dean of the School of Theology and Ministry. And it's a great privilege to have her here to give a message of welcome to the congregants and the reverends and the leaders of the Uniting Congregational Church. Yolanda, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Yaku. How absolutely wonderful to be online with you all this evening. It is a great privilege. I recognize some faces, I recognize some of the names. Most of you have your cameras turned off. And I want to assure you that you are
Doctor is muted.
I think you are mute. We can't hear you. You mute.
Sorry, how long was I muted, Yaku? Oh, now, Yaku, you are muted.
We could hear that you could recognize some of the faces. Yes.
All right. Okay, thanks. Thank you. And some of the names. And it's wonderful to be with you. I want to assure you that you are each extremely welcome. We are grateful that the journey we started with the UCCSA just more than a year ago has brought us to this point where 142 people from across Southern Africa can join. It's as though we are joining around a campfire and sharing ideas with one another on theological training and how we can present ourselves to the Lord in service to his church, how we can be equipped, and hopefully how Hugenote College may support the church in Southern Africa to do exactly that. We are grateful for the faith that the UCCSA has placed in us, in asking us to present with them and host the training of evangelists for the UCCSA. We take this to heart. We treasure it, like Mary treasured the words in her heart. We also treasure your trust and your faith, and it's wonderful to collaborate with you. At Hugenote College, the word calling is extremely important to us. We believe that God calls people. We believe that the continent of Africa is a called continent, and that God never forsakes people, but always leads us and our communities to a brighter future, a future of salvation and a future of hope. And we are filled with hope for the communities of God here on the continent of Africa. We believe that when God calls us, that he also enables us to answer that call through the power of his Holy Spirit, and that he also provides whatever we need to learn in order to answer that call, but God also provides that. And I hope that I can say that with the UCCSA, we see ourselves as your collaborators and your partners in joining in a joint answer to the call of God on our lives. And with that, I would ask you to close your eyes with me and let's say a word of prayer together. Our gracious and our loving God, you who call us from so many different communities, from so many different towns, from so many different contexts, we are united this evening in the fact that we love you, that our hearts have been touched by your Holy Spirit, and that we love you. We are also united by the common purpose, the desire to offer our lives to you and to your kingdom. Most of all, Lord, we are united in the hope that you have never ceased creating, but that you are always recreating. And even where we fail, Lord, you stand ready to meet us with grace, to enable us again and to equip us again to be your instruments in the world. Lord, help us to discern your will for our lives and for our communities. Help us to see, help us to discern where you are already at work. Capture our imaginations with how we may become a part of that work. And may the best of our efforts be a sacrifice to you, for from you and to you and for you are all things. We thank you, God of heaven and earth, God of past and future, our Alpha and Omega. We thank you for this evening and our being together, and for your presence and your gracious calling on our lives. Amen.
Thank you so much, Yolanda. Thank you for your encouraging words, and also for your leadership in putting this program together. Friends, we have designed a small program for tonight, which you see on your screens now. The first point of the agenda, I spoke to Reverend Leon Kleit, and he said that we designed this together, and we decided it would be very good for you to hear something about the importance of the office of the evangelist in the UCCSA, and how this course aims to assist the members of the UCCSA in their calling as evangelists. And so we welcome Reverend Kudzani Ndebele, who would guide us through this topic. So Reverend, you are most welcome. Please assist us with understanding how the UCCSA's Office of the Evangelist works and how this training fits into that program.
Good evening. Can we just ask Vanessa Quidboom to please, guys, can you please mute? Make sure that you mute it, please. Otherwise, we will have difficulty. Good evening, colleagues. Good evening, friends. The General Secretary is trying to connect. Yako, I've sent him the pin now. He's still in Zimbabwe. But let me just also greet you, Dr. Yolandi, the Dean of Hugenote College, and Yako, who's the program coordinator. And allow me, colleagues, Congregationalists, to introduce to you our friends from Hugenote College, who is with us here tonight. I might only recognize 3 of you on my screen. That is the Dean that has just welcomed us into the space, and Reverend Yako Wuta, who is the program coordinator. I've also seen the name of Dr. Coulomb with us from Hugenote College. Welcome, and thank you for allowing us the space to introduce the program of Evangelist to those interested in registering for this program. I'm not too sure whether the General Secretary is locked in now. If he's not locked in, can I just check? I also want to introduce to you Dr. Yolandi and Reverend Yako, those of us who serve in the leadership team. I have seen the name of our Mission Council convener, Ms. Papiwe Komalo, who joined us. I've seen her name earlier on. And I'm not sure Dr. Maseku was our mission and ministry secretary, who is also on this platform. So I guess what we need to do is, I'm not too sure whether it's the General Secretary online with us now. Right. I'm just communicating with him, colleagues. Right. The General Secretary sent his remarks to us. I will ask Dr. Maseku maybe just to read the remarks of the General Secretary to us. And if it is possible later in the program, as soon as he connects, then we can just afford him that opportunity not to delay the program. Yako, can we get Dr. Maseku? Will you be able to read the address of the General Secretary?
That's most welcome. Leon, as soon as the General Secretary has joined, would you please let us know so that we can create a space for him?
Will do. Thank you. Thank you, Yako. Dr. Maseku? Okay, let me just read you, the message from the General Secretary, and we will afford him the opportunity to speak to it later on. Salutations. The UCCSA President and the leadership here present, UCCSA members, Professor Neelis Niemand and the leadership of Hugenote College and staff, greetings. Lay people have always played some leadership role in the life of the UCCSA and its predecessors. The role is different from context to context and from one country to another, depending on the availability of ordained ministry. There are settings in the UCCSA, as it is currently constituted, that do not have a missionary history, where churches develop out of the work and witness of lay people who were returning home after a spell as migrant workers in places where they came into contact with the church. The current vision of the UCCSA is geared to being a missional church. In line with our understanding of a missional church is the strong emphasis in developing all God's people, the royal priesthood, for the work of mission as explained in Ephesus 4, verse 1 to verse 11 to 13. We have thus entered into a memorandum of understanding with Hugenote College to partner with us in offering a credible evangelist training program that will capacitate our general membership in missional ministry. This program is meant for both those who have been approved by their synods through their local churches and those who are seeking to deepen their knowledge and spirituality to enroll and go through this development. We are hopeful that this partnership will yield many other training and research programs towards theological capacity and spiritual development in our church. With these few words, I welcome you all and commend this very important program to God Almighty. General Secretary Reverend Kudzani Ndebele, UCCSA General Secretary. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you so much, Leon. That's beautiful words. I think it resonates with us also at Hugenote College, who believe that the faithful believers, the disciples of Christ, the church is built on them. And we aim to do just that, to equip faithful believers for the work within their local congregations. I will like to move now to some comments about the nature of the training that we've presented to the UCCSA and which forms part of the program of the Church Accredited Certificate. Later on, I will just give some space for Dr. Guillaume Smit, who will say something about the articulation from the certificate to other programs in theology. He has a class to give at 7 o'clock, so we'll just create some space for him before that. So as we move to the Church Accredited Certificate, this is the name of the certificate for the training of evangelists in the UCCSA. I would like to briefly explain the nature of the course, and then I will also give insight into some of the modules that is prescribed, and then how the assessment and is done, and also give details about everything from the duration of the modules to enrollment, and we'll speak later about articulation to further studies. I'm going to show you a picture of the pathways of theological formation that we've created. So this is the end goal of this training. So you'll see in front of you, there is 5 pathways of formation. And this means that we try to formulate a roadmap for training that does not end up at exactly the same space, but tries to incorporate the students' calling and the congregation's need. So for instance, in the training of, you'll see there, preaching and liturgy is one of the pathways. All the core modules remain the same throughout these 5 pathways. But at the end of your certificate degree, you get a chance to select one of 5 electives, and there are more electives that the UCCSA has given us, such as disaster relief, which we can also incorporate into your studies. But this is the basic recipe for the study of theology within the Church Accredited Certificate. So in this process, you will have a chance to go into conversation with your church leadership, your congregation, and obviously with God, and discern what path would be best suited for your own context. Now, that being said, I would like to move now to the course content. So within this 18-month, we call it 18 to 24 months of studying this certificate degree, you see now the exact picture of how this looks. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, it says CACT Year 1, 60 credits offered from 2025. And then there are 3 modules that we are presenting. The first module is called Reformed Theology of God. The second is Reformed Ecclesiology and Church Polity. And the third is Missional Spirituality. So these 3 modules will be presented in 2025, and it's the only subjects that you will be doing if you enroll for this course. This means that you will only be doing one subject at a time. These subjects are both presented in English and Afrikaans, and its contents are designed to build upon each other. So I'm going to quickly run through the first year of the modules, and then we'll move to the second year and speak also about the electives. The first module that we'll be starting with at the end of January next year is called Reformed Theology of God. And for the church leaders and the reverends, this is your classic systematic theology theme. So in this, we will ask questions about faith, about calling, about the nature and role of God in our lives and in the world. We'll speak about God's revelation within a church community, the mission of God, and other themes. So this is let's call it the basic background of theology, which we would like any reformed person to understand. This then moves, so we start with God, the discussion and the questions regarding God. Then we move to church, and this is Reformed Ecclesiology and Church Polity. That's the second term module. And this specific module is broken up into 2 small parts, 50% each. The first part is Reformed Ecclesiology. This is the study of church. What does it mean to be part of a faithful community of disciples following Christ within Africa in 2025? A very important question, as the UCCSA has a deep history of the pursuit of justice within its communities. Very, very important discussion. And then also the second part of it is regarding church polity. Now, important to note here is that although Hugenote College is a reformed institution, we cater to a variety of denominations, the Uniting Reformed Church and the Dutch Reformed Church also. So the church polity of these church communities differs from the Uniting Congregational Church. So within this specific module, you'll receive contextual church polity, which is lectured from some of the knowledgeable personnel from the UCCSA. That's the second term module. The third term module is missional spirituality. So we are very excited about this new module. It's the first time it will be presented within this specific context. And this has to do with understanding and developing a missional spirituality. So what that does, it aims to work with our embodied experience of prayer and being within community, with discernment and reading the word, so that it translates into missional activities within the congregation. It's a very important module. Again, this builds on the Reformed Ecclesiology. So we move from God to church, and from church we move to the faith and the missional spirituality, which we are supposed to develop within a congregational community. So if you do those 3 modules, you are then done with your first year of the Church Accredited Certificate. Then you move to the second year. And you'll see that on the second year, on the left-hand side of your screen, on the top, you'll see it says Reformed Hermeneutics. That module is a specific module developed for the responsible Reformed reading of the Bible. So within that module, we'll deal with both Old and New Testament texts. We'll deal with the nature of biblical interpretation, and we'll specifically work with biblical texts out of the Old and New Testament, asking you to develop a responsible way of discerning what the Word of God is and presenting that in your own context. After that module, then we'll move to the electives, and you'll see there those electives are split between two terms, between term 2 and term 3. And I'll just take an example for you. Say, for instance, you choose the elective preaching and liturgy. That happens in term 2. So it means that in the second year, your studies ends at the end of year 2, term 2. But if you decide, for instance, to choose ethics, leadership, and church administration, that specific subject, then you'll have a little bit of time, a month or two gap, where you finish then your elective module in the third term of the second year. So that's an overview of the subjects that we are presenting. And we'll, if you have questions about this specific modules or its contents, then we can have further discussion on that when there's time for at the end. I'm going to speak now about a little bit about the generic process, about how the modules are presented. So every module within this Church Accredited Certificate is 14 weeks. And it's 14 online sessions, so it means 14 times in each module you'll be in class. And so it's once a week for 14 weeks. And within those 14 weeks, you'll do 2 assessments. So one assessment in week 7 and one assessment in week 14. This assessment is both cognitive and formative in nature. So I'm just going to stand still on this topic a bit, because this is a very important part of theological formation that specifically universities has for decades neglected, and which we are only rediscovering now. So historically, the study of theology has developed into something that is captured within textbooks. So we've come to understand that if you read, for instance, a textbook on preaching, that does not equate into you being a good preacher. There's something that's missing. So you have to have cognitive knowledge about something. You have to become equipped with the contents and the nature of the specific subject, but it needs to have a formative component. You don't need to only understand preaching. You have to be able to be formed in exercises that make you a better preacher. So the example I always give to people is, if you read a textbook of prayer, and you read PhD theses on prayer and meditations on prayer, that does not equate to you standing next to a hospital bed and knowing what to ask God in that specific context. So the assessment that we are designing for this certificate has both components in it. So it has a cognitive component. We have to read and understand, and critical reflection and engaging in the content. But it also asks of us to form ourselves, our calling, our faith, our bodies, into having the ability to do this work within our own contexts. So in essence, what this means is Hugenote College is an online institution. That means all of the classes happens online. And therefore, we lean very strongly on congregations on the faithful community to assist those who are called in forming their habits of faith, in forming their calling. So, for instance, I'm going to again speak about let's say, for instance, the module of preaching and liturgy. One of the aspects of that is the cognitive ability to write a good sermon. But the formative ability of that specific module is you have to preach in a congregation. You have to continue to exercise and to develop that skill of preaching. And that takes on the form of not only your specific denomination's liturgy. It takes the form of how do you present yourself for a congregation in a professional manner that is respectful of the text, of your calling, and of the congregation. How do you articulate yourself in front of a lot of people? How do you design a liturgy that is specific to the context which you are in, whether it be a funeral or a church service that is on Christmas evening, or whatever that might be. So this is very important, and therefore we strongly rely on the partners that we have, on the local communities in which our students find their faith formation. The second last point is the seminary is complementary for integration. Now, what this means is in Hugenote College, we not only make or lean on congregations, but we also lean on the formal theological structures within the church denomination itself. So, for instance, in the Dutch Reformed Church, they have an online seminary that they're designing for their students within this course. And the UCCSA might have their own formal processes of articulating their understanding of calling, which is relevant to your own theological studies. And the last point is the pastor, the church council, and the congregation is important. So within this specific training of evangelists, it's developing a skill that functions within a team that works for God. The pastor of the local congregation, the church council of the congregation itself, all those are partners not only in your theological training, but in your own discipleship. And we aim to take those people within their specific roles seriously and to assist them to creating a space that's not only adequate for your theological development, but also a place where you find a healthy, supportive, and I stress to say the word fun, meaningful experience in your calling. So that's an overview of how every single module works. Regarding the assessment, what would happen is, for instance, let's say you do a assessment on the Reformed theology of God. And the assessment says, write 500 words about your own calling and the missional nature of God and how that translates within your local context. You then write that assessment and you submit it to your local pastor, who then at his or her discretion uses a generic rubric to assess your assignment. We then upload your marks to the Hugenote platform, and then you will get your results. So that's how every single assessment will work. So it gives us a chance to help the forming of your own calling within a relevant context that you will be employing your calling. I'm going to now move to this part. I spoke about it now, but maybe Reverend Clyde, if you feel invited, you can speak to this context also. So this is a picture that gives a idea of how the system of theological education is designed in the specific certificate course. So one of the partners in this, in the developing of your calling and training, is Hugenote College, and the Hugenote College is the academic partner. This means that we create a platform for your formation. We give you the content, the assessment, we give you the reading material, everything that you need for your training, we provide. But that training is only relevant as far as you are able to exercise it within a congregation within the UCCSA, whether that be in South Africa, Mozambique, Angola, Botswana, wherever you might be. So our training is heavily reliant on your ability to articulate that within your own context. So the congregation is an important part of your formation, in that that's the place where you are going to learn how to articulate the message associated with your church office. Then the last church partner is called the seminary, but again, this is a word that means the formal side of theological training within the denomination of the Uniting Congregational Church of Southern Africa. And that might take shape of online sessions or training that assists you in bridging the gap between the academic language and the academic world of Hugenote College and your local context. I'm going to pause there and just ask Reverend Clyde if he wants to jump in here and say something about church training or how that works within the UCCSA.
Thank you, Jaco. We have the General Secretary with us. He's struggling with connections.
Okay.
Can you hear me, GS?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. GS, I wonder you want to greet those on that platform, and do you want to say something on education and training within congregations before I answer it? If you want to say something on it.
Well, like I said in the introductory message of welcoming people, I may just express my gratitude and appreciation for all the members who have made it possible to this platform, and say to them that we are looking forward to a revival of our life continuing learning vocation, which has always defined us as a church. So we will be doing everything possible through all forms to make sure that we make very much, Reverend Leon Clay.
Thank you, Jesus. GS, almost said Jesus, GS. I think the local church is a critical component within formational training. Jaco, just to explain to you, part of our training exercise when it comes to ministers is to allow those who apply for the ministry, a space where they can meet within congregations and in the regions in a fellowship of vocation, where we assist in wrestling with the sense of call. And then they go for theological training at a university or college. But then the critical part is those that successfully completed their theological training phase. They are placed within a local context, within a congregation, where they continue to wrestle with the theory, that they have learned in university, but also try to apply it in praxis. And the place where it happens is within the context of a local church. So I think fundamental to our training ethos is always, to take account of the importance of practical ministry or the praxis, understanding the very thing, within the locality. We work from a premise where one of our previous general secretaries used to say, nothing is real until it is local. And that places a specific emphasis on the role of the local church, the congregation. And so those who are called into the special ministry of evangelists cannot do it away from the context of their local church. Hence, later on, we will explain to everyone where your journey will start. And maybe I should just allude to it. Dr. Maseko will say something about it, that it will start the right where it should start. It will start in the local context. So that when you return to the, or continuously as you are being trained, that connection and that practical aspects of the training program will have to find a space within the local church where you can demonstrate or exercise, the things that is needed. Because formation doesn't stand away from the academia. I guess it isn't, two separate entities. You do this first and then you do that. It is a total integrated process where we learn together as we, the whole cognitive development of the individual in terms of his or her understanding, are being lived within the reality, within the context of the local church where deep formation takes place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Clay. That's very insightful. And thank you also to the GS. Friends, I'm just aware of the time. I would like to just move the program around a bit so that we give space for Dr. Guillaume Smith to address us on the articulation from this church accredited certificate to the higher certificate and also to the BTH. Just to note, you'll say more about it, but the Hugenote College is at this stage not a formal partner of the training of ministers with the UCCSA, but the ability is there to articulate, meaning you can move from the church accredited certificate to other degrees in developing your own skill and your formation, taking into account the context of and the needs of the UCCSA. So, Dr. Smith, you're most welcome, my brother, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Good afternoon, dear friends. I just want to confirm you can hear me. Jaco, can you hear me well?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I'm privileged to speak to you. Thank you, Jaco, for making me part of this discussion. As Jaco said, the Hugenote College is not a formal partner in the training of ministers in the UCCSA, but we do present an online BTH degree, so that if you would like to articulate from the church accredited certificate to a degree program at Hugenote College, it would be possible. The steps in that articulation is just rather simple, in the sense that when you completed the church accredited certificate, you will then be able to enroll into a higher certificate in theology program, which will then contain two modules that are already being taught in the BTH degree. And you will have the opportunity to do another specialization module. But the effect of that is it gives you the opportunity to already do modules of the BTH degree while you complete a higher certificate. That then allows you to enroll for the baccalaureate in theology. And our baccalaureate in theology, as a fully online program, is developed to integrate the theological subjects into a missional approach, so that when you are completed with the study, you are formed as a minister who understand God's work in his kingdom and our role in and participation in that. Our BTH modules consist of 5 modules per year over 3 years. So you're going to do 15 modules. There are 5 distinct themes, but these themes correlate with theological subjects. So for instance, the first module, which we call the Revelation of God, is geared towards the exegesis and reading of the Bible in the Old and New Testament. So we spend a lot of time in the formation of your ability to read the biblical texts and get an overview of the Bible in its totality. The second module is mostly systematic theology, where we do in the first year we specialize in the Trinity. So you will do over 3 years the Father, the Son, the Spirit, as well as eschatology and salvation and everything related to the Trinity. In the third year, we also present, we call that spirituality, but we present it as a combination between church history, as church history helps us to understand the different spiritual traditions, and then with regards to spiritual formation, how people started experiencing the Lord and living in his presence. That ends in the third year with a mission history, where we then gear towards how we become attuned as Christians to see where God is working. In the fourth and fifth modules, we focus on a bit more practical applications. We focus on pastoral care. We focus on liturgy. We focus on homiletics, developing sermons. We focus on community ministry. The alleviation of poverty is one of our themes. We focus on community building, community development, and we focus on interfaith relationships, how we engage with people from other faiths and how we can form networks across boundaries, not only with other faiths, but in communities to work together as members of different groups, but still building God's kingdom and still stay true to our own faith and beliefs. So with that very short and circumspect overview, you will see then that we try and develop a person into a theology of where God is working, how to discern where God is working, who God is that is working, and how I can develop my own ministry skills in the kingdom to be part of what God is doing. If you completed the higher certificate, you get credit for 2 of the modules of the BTH degree. That will then enable you to complete the BTH degree in a shorter time frame. Speaking of time frame, our BTH degree is geared towards online study with for people who are working. So you have, if you want to do the course in the quickest amount of time, we have 3 years minimum, but you have up to 7 years to do all the modules and complete the degree. So you can literally decide how you would like to structure your studies over that time period to suit your own program and your own needs. We do not yet present postgraduate degrees. We are in the process of finalizing an honors degree in theology, and after that then we will look into further development like the master's degree and so forth. But these stuff take time since you work with the administrative people from the government. So that's not necessarily negative because they protect us and they accredit us, but it is a time-consuming process which will not be finished by the flick of a simple hand or finger. Jaco, that's my part. I hope that was enough.
Thank you so much, Guillaume. And please, if you feel, well, I know you have to leave, your excuse saying thank you for your participation and the contribution. We really do appreciate it.
God bless you all.
Thank you so much. Friends, before we ask Reverend Ndebele to, I'm not sure, Leon, if he's has been able to join us. Reverend Kudzani Ndebele,
Yeah,
is he
Dr.
available?
Dr. Maseku will deal with it. The General Secretary will pass a vote of thanks at the end.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Before we move to Maseko, just to finish up the logistical conversation. So I think there might be some questions about the application and the cost. I'm going to explain the cost in two ways. The first is in terms of the total cost for the first year, and secondly, I'm going to explain in terms of modules. So because the first year has 3 modules and the second year has 2 modules, the cost per year for the church accredited certificate is not the same for the second year as it is for the first year. The second year is a little bit less expensive, that being enrolled in 2026. The first year's cost per module is at 1,600 Rand. I'm unsure about what that is in Metikash, but it's 1,600 Rand. And that translates into 4,800 Rand for the whole year. And that's everything included. It's the online classrooms, it's the reading material, assessment, everything that you need. And also it's, yeah, so it's all inclusive. The second year, because it's 2 modules and not 3, it will be less expensive, but we don't want to put the price on that yet because it's assuming that with inflation, that will be in 2026 only for you if you start now for 2025. But it will be most probably less expensive than 4,800 Rand for your second year. Lastly is, and we'll use this also to link to Reverend Maseku, the applications for this specific certificate is already open. It will remain open until the second week of January, where we will start with the registration process. So if you are thinking about enrolling in this specific church accredited certificate, you can apply to the certificate from now until the second week of January, but then you will not be able to apply anymore because then we will move to registering the successful applicants. So that being said, we asked the Reverend Maseku to speak about the specific topic of how do you apply through the church, the UCCSA, to come to apply for the church accredited certificate. There's a specific process that the UCCSA is following, and Reverend Maseku is going to address us on that.
Thank you so much,
Yako.
Greetings to everyone present. The GS, the Dean of Hugenote College, the UCCSA ATMC Director, and all distinguished leaders of the church in synods who have joined this platform, and of course the staff of Hugenote College. I will share briefly from our draft policy that will soon be approved and presented to the AMC next year in March for approval by the executive of the UCCSA. But we are not waiting for that process to be finalized. We continue working since we have heard that application are starting now or have started already. So we have got 2 ways that we can follow in sending in our applications. Number 1, we apply through our God follow in terms of being recommended for the region and the synod. Then, of course, the names will be presented to the denomination. that process is entirely dependent on the processes in the respective synods. But when that happens, one, a person has a call. He communicates with the local leadership, the pastor, then that process kicks in. But the other person, this is the second way of registering. The person may say, I don't think I have the calling to be an evangelist, but I want to study for my own spiritual benefit, but also my own understanding. If you are in the website of the college, they have a link there where you can apply. But for you to complete that application, they will send you back to your church so that you can communicate with your local church, with your synod, so that as a church we keep track of who is doing the course, either for evangelism or for personal enrichment. So whichever way, you still have to be connected to your church, because the other reason has already been spoken of, that in terms of the assessment, there is the cognitive aspect where you read and learn and write test. But the other part, you do preaching in your local context. If it's any practical assignment, you do it within the local context. So your local church is a partner in this training. So you can apply because you have a call of being an evangelist. So you are processed through your church, through the synod, so that we are able to track, but also so that we can assist you. So during the course of the program, those who will be who will have enrolled, we will find so that we can bring talking when he mentioned seminar, so that we can have that time of formation, that time of engagement, clarifying issues, assisting each other as a church in our local context. So that will be done. And then lastly, what I will talk about is that upon finishing the course, which is at the level of the certificate, because I see some questions other people are asking, is it a certificate or diploma? The first 2 years is a certificate. Then if you finish that, you are ready to be received by your regions for placements wherever the church will want to send you, those who are evangelists. But in case you are that person who says, I want to further my education, it is only then that you can do a higher certificate, following those channels of articulation that we have had. So that is the process in terms of our church, but we have a policy that will guide this process, that will share with the synods. But as of now, the applications have begun. So Yako will assist us as to how we can apply as synods for those of our membership who have already registered their interest, but also who have been processed for evangelist training, so that they can apply through that link. But also those who are applying on their own accord because they want to further their spirituality and development, they will also be sent to the church so that the church is also part of their formation. Because at the end of the day, is both those who are called for evangelism but also the generality of the church, as the General Secretary said, that our task, our objective is to prepare God's people for the works of mission. Reverend Lett, I think that would be enough unless there are other issues, because you do have the document. So if you want to add.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Maseko. I think that you have shared enough with us for now. As Dr. Maseko mentioned, this is the draft so it is in compliance with the requirement of Hugenote College. You cannot enroll unless you have a letter of commendation, through your local church. And I think that is important for you to know. You start at your local church. So have a conversation with your minister as soon as possible, so that the process, when you apply ultimately to Hugenote College to enroll for this church certificate. And as Dr. Maseko said, this is a church certificate is important. But Jaco explained to you that, one of the models will give you credit if you want to continue to the higher certificate. Jaco, I'm right. So the option for you to continue to a higher certificate, if you are totally immersed and interested in this program, and you notice it, in terms of your cognitive development and in terms of your formational life, you might want to give yourself. Now, in some instances, what is important for us to understand, in some of the synods, they will apply it differently to other synods in terms of how they use Evangelist within that context. It is important to note that the idea of Evangelist is not a new idea. It is something that we have used in the past. We have abandoned it due to certain problems that we have encountered, which I won't discuss at this point in time. But we trust that as we now continue, that we will be able to go forward, go forward to train laity in terms of building capacity in them to have a meaningful ministry within a local context where they are called to serve. So this is exciting times for us, and by next week, we will in a way work through this document at the ATMC. And so when you go on holiday, some of us must still work, and we trust that it will become a living document. But Jaco, I would want people to ask questions. Can I just say that Jaco explain to them how we're going to deal with the questions in terms of the chat box?
Yes, thank you. Before we do that, I'll just say a word or two about applications, and just given an extra incitement to enroll only for qualified ministers. So let's say, for example, you're a qualified minister, or that in 3 years' time you've completed the certificate degree and you are an evangelist in the UCCSA. But you would like to enroll for a refreshment course, or you would like to develop your skills in another capacity, such as disaster relief or public theology or pastoral care. Hugenote College also offers the ability for people who have completed a degree program to enroll for specific modules in this course, but it's half price and there is no assessment. So it's then 800 Rand per module. And so, for instance, I would highly recommend that every pastor or reverend in any context, I would highly recommend they apply to or register to attend the missional spirituality module. So that's then 14 weeks of skills training, but there's no assessment and it's only half of the price. But that only is available for you if you already have a degree or stand in ministry in the church. The second thing I want to say is about the application. So as soon as we start the conversation and the questions, I will paste the link of the applications within the chat, and I will also send an email to all the attendees tomorrow containing this YouTube link and also the application and the prospectus and everything that you need. As soon as you apply for this church accredited certificate, you must understand that you don't need a high school certificate for matric or grade 12 to enroll or to apply. We only need a copy of your identification or passport and some biographical information such as your name and residence, church congregation. And then what happens is if your application is sent to us through this online link, then you will receive 2 letters. The first letter contains information about how do you register. So please know that applying for the study is not equating to registering. The first step is applying, and then we just need your biographical information. And then after you've applied, we start with registration. So registration takes place at the second half of January. And then, but you can only register if you have completed the second letter that you will receive upon application. That second letter is asking you to give us information about your local congregation, your regional synod, and your local reverend. So if we receive that document back, you're able to register. And that's important because we need to make sure that the people who through the church applied for the certificate is the same people who applied for the certificate at the Hugenote College, so that we can put these 2 lists next to each other and see if it corresponds correctly. That information is then sent to the UCCSA, and that will keep them for their own records. Then after registration, at the end of January, there is an orientation week. And this is the week in which we have an online session, which we are still designing, where we will assist you in understanding how the classes work, how the online portal works, how you're doing your assessments, then in any questions that you might have regarding your training, we can address in those sessions. So I think that's all from my side regarding the applications. If there are more questions, we can now move to the question and answers part of the session. I'm going to ask, if you have a question, please type it into the chat and we will systematically deal with everything. If you're not able to write the question down, we will give space at the end of the conversation for you to unmute yourself and ask the question to the relevant person. So I'm going to give about 2 minutes and then we'll start addressing the question. So if you have any, please write it in the chat. And while you're busy, I'm just reading through the questions that has already been posted. The first question I can see is there any age restriction? That's a good question. I think Yolanda can correct me, but I think in the Dutch Reformed Church we have registered people for this course that are in their 70s. So you are most welcome to apply. Doesn't matter your age. We, as Dr. Maseko said, we also encourage people to do this certificate for their own development, not necessarily only for being an evangelist or a full-time minister. So yes, you are most welcome. Doesn't matter what age you are. Second question I can see is, how is tuition paid? Full pay at point of registration or installments? Yes, so that's an important question. We had a discussion with Hugenote College, and this is a discussion that happened within the college itself and not within the School of Theology and Ministry. Yolanda, if you would like to add something to that, please feel free to add it. But the point of the discussion was because the course is a lot less expensive than, for instance, the BTH. The college requires the payment of the year's modules upon registration. So yeah, we're trying to negotiate something for 2026, maybe two-part payment or just a deposit and then payment, but at this stage it's not possible. So that payment is due at the registration. Yolanda, you want to add something about that or anything else?
Not at this stage, Jackie. You put it quite clearly. Yes, so if we can continue with the questions, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so the next question is, will the classes be during hours or after hours? Very good question. So the set time for the classes, how the program looks at this stage, it might change, but I'm not sure it will. I think it will stay like this, is the Afrikaans classes will be on a Monday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and the English classes will be on a Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. But we do understand that sometimes things happen and you're not able to attend, and we will try to accommodate you. So the lectures are recorded and they are placed within a private YouTube channel, which you can access if you discussed your leave of absence with the lecturer. There's a question about the classes being in English and Afrikaans. It is important, yes, classes are in English, both English and Afrikaans. You are most welcome to attend either or both if you would like. Yes. The next question is, so level 1 is certificate and then higher certificate. Yes. So just to confirm, the church accredited certificate, I'm going to speak in South African language now. I'm not sure how this translates into the other context in Africa. We present this certificate at a NQF, a National Qualification Framework Standard of grade 10. That's why you don't need a matric certificate to apply. If you complete this, you are able to enroll for the higher certificate in theology, which is equal to a grade 12. Then if you pass that higher certificate with distinction, you get an entry into the bachelor's degree. So there is a road for you to try and, so let's say for instance, there's a person within the UCCSA has a very strong calling, but is 16 years old. They don't want to complete school for some or other reason. They are most welcome to enter into this program and then articulate all the way through tertiary education if they follow the path and do good in their results. Can you repeat the second and third year prices? So the second and third year, so I'm just going to repeat what I said about the cost of the church accredited certificate. So the cost per module at this stage is 1,600 Rand per module. There's 3 modules in the first year and there's 2 in the second year. There is no third year, so it's only 2 years. And that first year cost of 3 modules, excuse me, translates into 4,800 Rand for the whole year. The second year will be less expensive, so and there is no third year. There's a question about the application link to send to email. Yes, we will send the link to apply via email tomorrow to everyone who registered for this session. But if you simply Google Hugenote College, you will see on the front page of the website, there's a link to apply. So you can already go there tonight if you would like to start your application process. Is the cost difference from the church certificate to the BTH? Yes, there's a significant cost difference. Yolanda might have the answer to how much the BTH costs, but it's significant. Yolanda?
Let me get the exact prices. I have this year's prices in my in my head now. I'll quickly open the document. You can continue with the next question in the meantime.
Okay, Yolanda will come back to us now with that costing of the BTH. there's a question about, are there any formal exams or just continuing assessment? There's no formal exams, it's no written exams, it's only continuing assessment. Mostly it would take the form of writing, let's say, for example, between 800 and 2,000 words of reflection about the classes, your experience in the congregation, your own faith, and the learning, the reading material that you will be given. Yeah, so there is no formal exams. Just to be clear, I'm just going to pause here, and Yolanda's got the prices for the BTH for us. Yolanda, you want to speak to us about this?
Thank you, Jaco. Yes, so as you can see there, if you register for all 5 modules of the bachelor in theology per year, the total fee would be 34,000 Rand for the year, whereas the total fee, that's for the first year or the second year or the third year, whereas for the church accredited certificate, the whole year costs you only 4,800. So you will also see then the logic of the college to say that if you do the church accredited certificate in theology, the whole payment is required upfront because it is so much less than the BTH, which is 34,000. I will leave this up for the moment, maybe Jaco, just in case people want to make notes.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Happy to
Yolanda.
answer any questions that there are about this.
Thank you. There's a question saying you need a letter of recommendation for your local church. Yes, you do. But also do understand what, as soon as you've completed your application, you will receive an email asking you to give us a confirmation of your details of your church leadership, the signature of the local pastor, the presbytery, the regional leadership. So that is a dual way of ensuring that the recommendation is from your local church. But again, please do understand that it's not necessary for you to have a calling to become a reverend or a evangelist to enroll. You simply have a desire to continue with your theological formation as a normal disciple, or in Reformed theology we call it the office of the church member. Then you can also apply. There's a question. I'm not sure you're not clear, payment. Yes, so again, there's a question about the payment. So the first stage is the application. She'll apply now. The application is free of charge. It's online and it is on the Hugenote College website, which I will send the link. I'll send the link now and again in the email tomorrow. And then once you are in the process of registering, the people at the registration office will contact you and give you the details of the payment. Then at that stage, 4,800 Rand has to be paid. And then if that's paid, you are registered, and in Hugenote College, we call it you are going live. So you're a live student at Hugenote College. You do not pay per module. You'll pay for every module at the beginning of next year. I'm just going to paste the link of the application page in the chat. Just going to ask you to mute yourselves, please. There's a question, if you wish to pay for yourself, can you still go to the church? What is it your local congregation must consider when you express your interest? Is it guaranteed that you will be placed? So I think maybe Reverend Clyde, I'm not sure if you're seeing that question. I can, from my side, say that...
Reverend Souls, will you mute? Reverend Souls, please mute. Reverend Souls? Reverend Souls, please mute.
I muted him, it's fine.
Okay.
Reverend Clyde, do you see that question about
Yes, I saw the question earlier on.
yes.
I guess that can I just explain to you what happened in the past with programs at Hugenote College, where members of the local church where I serve as a minister wish to develop themselves in one or other ministry, because there are many more programs at Hugenote College than the Evangelist program. You have youth and you have a children's ministry and all these beautiful programs, but still, you know, a letter from the local church was required. May I also just say that you cannot put, you know, even if you say, you know, I just need the consent of the local church so that I can apply, you cannot then come back afterwards and then say, but you must use me. I think this is where the whole process comes into place. But we in the beginning stages. Notice Makaya asked that question. We in the beginning stages, and you know, this is part of our conversation, you know, going into next week. But for now, the process is clear that you need, for the program of Evangelist, you know, in terms of the UCCSA, you need to go through the local church for that. But you know, through our internal communication, we will communicate with those.
Thank you, Reverend Clyde, for clearing that up. There's a question about Vanessa asks, what is the fee for registration? There's no fee for registration and there's no fee for application. You only pay for the whole certificate degree for the first year then. Then there's a question upon assessment. Is there any room for exemption? Yes, Yolanda.
Sorry, I just want to say that application is free if you apply online. If you send in a completed registration form that is printed out, then there is a fee. I think it is 350 Rand, if I'm not mistaken. But if you apply using the internet online, then it's...
Thank you so much. I didn't even know that. You can still apply with the printed documents. Thank you, Yolanda. A question upon assessment, is there any room for exemption from any of the modules? So yes, that is an important question. So let's say, for instance, you want to articulate from the church accredited certificate to the higher certificate. The higher certificate, as we are designing it, contains a lot of the same themes of study of the church accredited certificate. So you will receive credit for every module that is relevant for the higher certificate that is also in the church certificate. And then when you try and articulate from the higher certificate to the BTH, there are specifically 2 modules which you will get credit from, and which will not need to repeat in the BTH if you articulate from the higher certificate. So we try to design this process to accommodate students in their prior, we call it recognition for prior learning, where the work that you have done within our college is accredited, and you can develop that with, or you can receive credit for that in a further degree. There's a question from Ursula. Can you apply for the BTH without doing the church accredited certificate first? Yes, you can, but please do understand that you need a bachelor's pass or an age exemption certificate from the relevant South African authorities, educational authorities, to do so. And you're most welcome to send us an email at Hugenote College so that we can assist you if you want to apply for the BTH. What's the procedure for applying for the degree? Procedure is just you click on the link and then you enter some biographical information, and then the people, our colleagues assisting us with the application process at Hugenote College will assist you step by step in completing the application. Even if you forget something in the application or it's not completed, they will give you a call or they will email you and assisting you with finalizing your application. Is an online application says only RSA residents can apply online. Yolanda, I'm not sure about that question. I think the question is the online application says only RSA residents can apply online. I'm not sure that's correct because I know that we already have students from Malawi who registered online, but I'm not sure if there's some message on the website which says that. Yolanda, can you give us some assistance?
I'm not aware of a message on the website saying that, Yaku. However, I know that before we had to follow a different process with someone from Namibia applying, where because it has to do with the system recognizing the South African ID number. So in that case, you can just send an email to the address that is shown there on the website, which is applications@hugenote.ac.za. I will put it in the chat, and you can ask for assistance. Then they will create a profile for you and send you a link where you can just fill out your details.
Thank you so much, Yolanda. That assists us a great deal. As I said,
Sorry, I'm the one who actually posted that. I just posted the clip on the top of the form. I'm sorry I had to unmute so that we deal with it. It does say at the top that only South African residents can apply online. But thank you very much. I'll send the email. I just posted because after you send the link, I actually clicked on it to register, but I couldn't go further without RSA ID. I entered Botswana ID, but it did not move forward. But I'll send the email. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That's a very important comment. Sorry, Yolanda.
Sorry, Yaku. I'm looking at the website here, Mrs. Abotsengeka, and you are indeed correct. It says if you are an international student with a passport, please contact applications@hugenote.ac.za to initialize the application process. And after the applications department initialize the process, you will receive an email with a password. Use the continue with application link to proceed. So I will put this in the chat, the link from where I'm reading. There you go. And also the email address that is shown there, applications@hugenote.ac.za.
Thank you so much for that comment. Also, I will take it up with the people designing the registration portal, and I will ask them why that is the case. If it's possible, I think we will try and make it so that it's easier for people outside of South Africa to apply. So thank you so much for that. And I think there's a question. Even if I register to enrich myself on a missional leadership, do I still have to receive a letter of recommendation from my local church? Reverend Clay, do you want to address that question?
So yes, I think I in part addressed it. I think we will deliberate on this matter, based on the questions put here. But for now, the Evangelist program, our understanding is that you work through your local church to register. In any event, you will need, Jaco, can you just confirm, you will need a letter from your local church. I know in the past I had to, take it to church council where I serve. If anyone want to do for self-enrichment, a program through Hugenote College. Fortunate for us, those who enroll, got themselves involved in the life of the church, and it is just a joy to work with them because of the exposure to the area or the discipline that they have enriched themselves in. So they are then recognized. And the reason why it is important, there are a lot of bogus, so-called universities around the world. And people could freely register for so many programs on the internet, which is not really accredited. And what people need to understand is that the GS put it in his letter, and he will maybe say something about it, that when we capacitate our laity, we don't want to make it a lesser form of training as if it is nothing. We need to put some credit in it, and part of it is to make use of accredited institutions that we can trust in terms of the formational work within the life of the church and training in the life of the church. And so these are mechanisms that help us to understand that not only in terms of the locality, but in terms of the UCCSA is a denomination across the countries where we engage in mission and ministry, that we always want to, you know, to work with credible institutions that we can trust. And part of that, in terms of our understanding, is to make sure that those who enroll indeed got, you know, from their churches and through their systems, that just a very lighter word, that blessing to continue, you know, to enrich themselves. But we also need to understand that, you know, in some of the context that we speak about, that this training of evangelists was a real need for you know, for a specific context. But we couldn't design and sign memorandums of understanding just for one entity within the life of the church. We had to adopt it for the whole of the UCCSA so that everyone can benefit who wish to benefit. Now, many of you would want to use it, you know, in terms of the way that the synods might use you within the synodical context. But many others would want to, you know, just to enrich themselves because they're leaders within the local church, and you know, and engage themselves in that form of ministry within the local context. For that, you know, you know, you need the commendation of your local church. So I guess that it is important that you follow that procedure, not because of control, but because of discipline. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Clyde. Very clear. Thank you so much for that. Yolanda, there's a question. Is the college registered with the Department of Education? I can answer that, but maybe it's also a good space to say about the process of registering and accrediting a certificate or a degree, and how tedious and rigorous that process is.
Yes, I can confirm that the college is accredited with the Department of Higher Education and Training in South Africa.
Thank you so much. And as we said, we are busy registering also the higher certificate, and we are also, it's not only registering, it's staying registered, and there's a rigorous assessment process from the department, which you have to keep your accreditation with the department. You don't only get it once. There's a question, Reverend Clyde, about if you finish the degree, are you a reverend with a white collar?
No, not at all. Colleagues, if you wish to enroll or apply for ministry within the UCCSA, there's a constitutional process that you need to follow. In terms of that already, I think what we want to do is really to work on the training of evangelists, you know, not necessarily in a similar way, but with the same discipline. If you want to wish, you know, to enroll towards the ministry, you have to go through a process, as we have explained earlier on, where you apply also through your local church. And you will then indicate clearly that you want, you know, you have received a call towards the full-time ministry, ordained ministry for that matter, because the evangelist won't be ordained ministry within our understanding within the UCCSA. So that is a different trajectory that you follow, where ultimately you will go through the FOV, where you will be assisted to wrestle with your sense of call. You will then start with a theological training where there are certain requirements in terms of what disciplines within theology you need to read. And then after you have, on completion of your academic training, you will then be placed as a ministerial intern, either for 2 or 3 years, depending on whether you're full-time or self-supporting. And that is a clearly formational phase as well on your road to ordination. So it is, the evangelist program is different, and we shouldn't equate the two.
Thank you so much, Reverend Craig. Very clear. So there's a question: if you register, you have to pay the full amount of 4,800 Rand for the first year by end of January 2025. Yes, that is correct. Daar was iemand wat in Afrikaans vra, so datum wanneer die 4,800 betaal word. Ja, dit is einde Januarie. Just going through, see if there's other questions. Do we fail in? Okay. What must? Reverend Clyde, there's a question: what must be explicit in the letter from the local church? From Hugenote side, I can say that from our letter, which you will see at the end of the application, it's only a form that you have to fill in, containing the details of the congregation, the minister, the presbytery, and yourself. But maybe, Reverend Clyde, you can address us in what must be in this letter of recommendation from the local church towards the synod.
Dr. Maseko, you want to attempt on that one? Cheers.
Dr. Maseko, are you still with us? Yes, there you are.
Yes, yeah. Dr. Maseko.
If I'm
what
hearing,
must be in the letter?
If I'm hearing the question, what must be in the letter? In terms of the college, it's clear. There will be a form. Then you fill in that in the blank space is provided, and then the whether it's the minister or whosoever church authority signs.
Dr. Maseko, you're still with us?
But particularly for those who, yes, I'm still there. Can you hear me?
Yes, continue.
Yes, I'm saying for those who are in the process of being evangelists, those who, because evangelists are processed through their local churches, regions, and synods. So already you may not need a letter, but the ATMC, the TMC will present so your name will be there. Well, the AMC and the executive, the process that has already, to ratify, that's the correct word, to ratify the process that has already started, then that will be it. So if you are being processed to be an evangelist, you are already in the system, because your TMC director will have to finally report to the executive or the assembly, AMC, to say that those who are being processed for evangelism, for evangelist training are these and these, because finally the church must approve. So the aspect of the letter is taken care of. But any other person who is registering for their self-development, that will be captured through that form. Unless there is any other development that will come from the ATMC, it will be communicated accordingly.
Thank you, Dr. Maseko. You broke up there from at the stage. I'm not sure, maybe if the next time you speak, maybe you should keep your video off and it might sound a little bit better. But I think the message was clear. There's a question here that says, I see a problem if we must go through our local churches. Some of our local churches don't have a pastor. So just for that, that's why we also rely on the presbytery. So it's not necessary for your church to have a local pastor. We do work with, for instance, in the Dutch Reformed Church in the Northern Cape in South Africa, there are areas that have very few or only one pastor within a whole region. But we design a process that makes it possible for those people to also study within their local context. So that's something we try and work around through the local synods and the local leadership. Then, Reverend Clyde, there's a question there.
I think that is the same even in the UCCSA. There is no church without a minister. It's either the minister is full-time or acting. Even if it's at the regional level, it's still okay because you need that.
Maseko, you're breaking up quite badly now.
Thank you, Dr. Maseko.
Okay. The second question, Reverend Clyde, maybe this is a more internal church question from the same person. It says, furthermore, remember we are paying from our own pockets. Why should we get the recommendation? So I think this is a question regarding if a person applies to be an evangelist and they pay out of their own pockets, the process of or the possibility of getting I'm not saying reimbursement, but some kind of stipend or something when you are an evangelist. So I think that is, if that person has that question, it's something that I have to take up with the leadership within their own synod and the leadership in their own context.
Yeah, I think what we need to understand is that, we have entered a memorandum of understanding with the Huguenot College in terms of the program of Evangelist. And together with the church, we have together with Huguenot College, we looked at what they offered and we have made certain suggestions that will be part of the electives. Which then are being recognized within the UCCSA as a specific program to train and equip those who wish to enter. And I think the reason why we do it and the reason why we say that please do come in. I know, can I just say that, if, at the universities, some of the universities, I know the University of Stellenbosch, if you apply, even if you apply for doctoral studies, you have to submit a letter from the church where they acknowledge you as a person reading towards a specific discipline within theology. So irrespective of whether you pay for yourself or not, you're a member of the church, and hence the importance that you acknowledge your church in building your capacity, because ultimately you will be used within the life of the church, and to preach or to be involved in one or other form of ministry. Jaco, there was another question that I think we might want to address, is the question on, I think it was lower down, where the question was posed, good evening, everyone. In what sense does the evangelist after completion, of course, get used in the local church regards to communion, baptism, and preaching. There are different ways in which one have to address this, but we also need to know that there are certain procedures within the church that we need to follow. Enrolling for the program of Evangelist don't automatically give you access to serve the sacraments of Holy Communion and baptism. Specifically the two sacraments that we celebrate within the life of the UCCSA or together with other Reformed churches. So there are different procedures that you follow. We do have in the life of the church where there is really a need, especially in context where a church is, far removed, that synods come up with names, and follow the procedures within the UCCSA to apply for licensing to serve the sacraments. So the sacrament of communion specifically. So those are procedures, and there are procedures that guide us in that process. So we don't want you to understand that this is a path to ministry, or ordained ministry for that matter, because it is indeed ministry, but ordained ministry, it is not. So if you wish to enter that path, there's a specific procedure that we need to follow. Thank you, Jaco.
Thank you. Just moving to the last questions. The registration is still open until the second week of January. You're most welcome to register or to apply from today. I think that might be it. Yes, so there's a last question, say I didn't get a clear answer how we're going to assist on us an online registration for those outside of South Africa. Yes, so Dr. Steenkamp just a little bit to the top of the chat posted a link to the applications at hugenote.ac.za, which is just an email that you send, and then the people responsible for the applications will assist you throughout the process. She just sent that application website again. So if you click on the applications, there's also the same email address is noted in the website. So if you're from outside South Africa, you're most welcome just to send an email to us, and then we can assist you with the application. Colleagues, that's all the questions that I can see. If there's someone who would like to unmute themselves and ask a question, you are most welcome to do so. I'm just going to ask that you raise your hand so that we can not speak over each other. Mina Jacobs has raised her hand. Mina, you're most welcome to ask your question.
Good evening, Jaco, and everyone in the meeting. I would just like to ask that BTH, according to the UCCSA must now, it is only for evangelism, this BTH and certificate and so on. So when you would like to become a minister, I'm not sure, but it's also a question on its own. Is there another qualification that they have to qualify for to be a minister? And then should it be another qualification? Would you use this certification then as a recognition of prior learning if you apply now to do the one so that you can qualify for a minister? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So just on the first question that you asked, it's not necessary for you to do the BTH to become an evangelist in the UCCSA. It's only this church accredited certificate. The BTH degree it's another program. Reverend Clyde, you want to address us on the process of becoming a full-time minister in the UCCSA and which institutions to provide your training? Evan Clyde, are you still with us?
Oh, sorry, Jaco, I was muted. Can I just say that we do have a constitutional process. If you have access to a constitution, you know, and you can access it, and you will be taken through the whole process. But just to you know to briefly say that it is what you do. If you're interested in the ministries, that you go to your local pastor, your local minister, the acting minister, or you know, whether it is an acting or full-time minister, and you go and seek an audience with him or her, you know, and then address him on your sense of call. You will then apply through your local church, who will then write a letter to your regional council. You will then be accepted into the fellowship of vocation for a period of 2 years. After which, through the regional council, your name will be forwarded to the synod. I think in your case it will be the South African synod that will take you through a selection conference where you will be selected. Some, you know, make it through, others have to return. But then, you know, depending on whether you want to study full-time or self-support or part-time, you know, the Synod will advise in that regard. Within there are various colleges in universities. Currently, we have just signed last year an MOU with the University of Pretoria. We have an MOU with the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Within the South African context, there is UNISA, and there is TEC within this context. In all synods, there are other colleges that we have MOUs with, where you can go and study. We have in Zimbabwe the United Seminary and the Open University, and we have Ricatla in Mozambique. I just can't get. We have the University of Botswana in Botswana. I just can't get to the name of Palladium, a seminary in Namibia. So yes, there are institutions. You cannot just go to any institution to study. So that is it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is to that study phase, of course, and then if you're successful with your studies, as I've said earlier on, then you will be placed in a local church for your internship program, either self-supporting or full-time. That is for a period of 2 years, could be up to 3 years. But you know, it is 2 years. You know, there's a constant evaluation, and you don't necessarily fail in that phase. But you know, if more development is needed, it is suggested that you remain a bit longer in that phase. Thank you, Jaco.
Thank you, Clyde. There's a question, Makaya Mini, who would like to address us, but just before he does, there's a question. We are a group of individuals on a Zoom call currently, and we would like to know how the application process work. Alwyn, all that you have to do is to go to the Hugenote College website, and there's an application link which you click, and the group of people you are with, they are most welcome to apply and follow the process. Again, we will send this recording of this discussion on YouTube to you tomorrow, and you're most welcome to watch it again. And if you have further questions, you're most welcome to contact myself also. Makaya, you're most welcome. Brother, please address us.
Thank you very much, sir, and good evening to the ministers, and good evening to all the congregants on this platform. Let me first thank the UCCSA and Hugenote College for presenting this wonderful opportunity as an intervention in our ailing churches. I have just two quick questions, which are a follow-up to inputs that were already responded to. One, please take me through the process of this recommendation that you need to obtain from your church. Can you elaborate a bit? Are you implying that in the church, the local church, we've got various structures. We've got the members, we've got the church council, we've got the church trustees. And I'm looking at the issue of time. Now it's December. In 2 weeks' time, the month is over. I just want to check whether who actually has to give the blessings for you to obtain a recommendation from your local church, because in our church structure works like this. Any matter that needs to be obtained, where we need to obtain a resolution, you need to take it from the church council, then to the members themselves. They need to give the final stamp of authority. Just assist me there. Should we now engage the church throughout all of these courts in our local church? My last question is on the issue of financing. Does this mean that even if I am financing this program from my own pocket, and then what is my obligation to the church after having financed this program because our churches financially are struggling? Let's be honest with that. Then lastly, everyone will know I am passionately interested with regard to missional leadership. I wanted to find out whether, can you elaborate more that, can I exclusively register for the missional leadership program? For that as well, am I supposed to obtain a letter of a recommendation from my church, even if I'm going to finance that part from my own pocket? Thank you very much, Jacob, and thank you very much to Reverend Clayton.
Jaco, I will attempt on part of the question to Makaya Mani. Makaya, I think in terms of the whole process, with meetings being in December, I think we will meet with Hugenote College, but you must allow us just a space, because we will meet as ATMC on Tuesday the 10th to conclude the business of the ATMC for this year online, of course. And I guess that after that, we will take into account the questions that you have put, especially with the registration and the fact that you need a letter to advise as to the way forward. So if we will communicate through the offices of the Senate secretaries. I know it is crunch time, but knowing them, I know that they will make special effort to communicate it to the relevant structures. And depending on how long Jaco will be, until when he will be in the office, if we have a way forward from the church, we can always ask him to assist us, because he does have now all your emails on the system, and maybe just communicate that through his office with you. But I don't want to preempt anything. It is really something that we will look into. Jaco, can you say something about the other part of the question in terms of whether you can only do something on missional leadership?
Thank you, Reverend Clayton. Reverend Clayton, I will also send you the list of the registrations for this online session so that you have a list of the email addresses also. I am in office until the 20th of December, so you're most welcome to engage me until that time. Then lastly, the question of only registering for the missional leadership, you're most welcome to do so. The application portal for that specific modular registration is not open as to yet, but it will be very soon. I expect if you register or apply at the beginning of January, you'll also be able to do so. But that registration is for only the module, and it's half price. And you will receive a certificate of attendance of the completion. So that's different than a certificate of the church, or the church accredited certificate but you're most welcome to do so. Because it's for, let's call it self-enrichment purposes exclusively, you'll not need a letter from the congregation in that specific application, and you will not be assessed. You will only attend the classes and be part of the formational process. Yes, I think that is it for the questions. If I see it now, if there's any other questions, maybe the colleagues can assist me in looking if we've missed something. But I think we are complete, and it's also 3 minutes past 8. It's agreed that we stay until 8 o'clock. I know the colleagues have other responsibilities. Friends, one last thing I'm going to do in the chat is I'm going to put my email address so that you can also contact me if you would like. Please do note that issues of internal church matters, I will refer to the relevant UCCSA personnel, and the academic questions and application and registration, I will deal with it myself. You're most welcome to send me an email, even if you are part of a congregation or a presbytery or a synod, you would like a follow-up Zoom meeting, we can also arrange that. But for now, I think that's it. I want to thank the leadership of... Oh, the GS wants to also address us. Yes. So maybe I should just sign off from my side, and then the GS can complete our session tonight. So thank you so much to the GS, Dr. Maseko, Reverend Kleit, Dr. Steenkamp, Dr. Smith, everyone who's been a part of designing and rolling out this important milestone in Hugenote College and the UCCSA. We are very thankful for your contributions and your attention and your love. Thank you so much. And I give over now to the GS for final comments and to sign us off.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, man. Before you go, I see you must a question. It asks what an Afrikaans, but it's basically what is the duties of the evangelists?
Reverend Kleit?
Yeah. I think at this stage we will communicate it with them, in a formal document so that they understand, what is the scope of the work of the evangelist.
Okay, thank you. That's good.
Okay.
We give the floor to the GS.
Let me just check whether the GS is still with us because they have connection problems in Zoom. GS, are you with us? Seems like we have lost the GS. Dr. Maseko? We have problems from Zoom.
I think we have lost GS.
Yeah. The GS just said that my network is intermittent. Please ask the president to do it. Is the president, Dr. Reverend Conrad Williams, are you online?
No, I don't think he's online.
No. Yeah. May I just at this point express our deep and profound word of thanks to Hugenote College for creating this open platform to give information to everyone. It is the president is here. It is really nice of you to sacrifice your time. But before I do anything, can I ask the Reverend Conrad Williams, just on behalf of the UCCSA, to express a word of thanks and just conclude the session with a word of prayer? Reverend Williams, he is the president of the UCCSA, coming from Gqeberha. Reverend Williams. Oh, he just raised his hand a while ago. So I thought he's with us. Is the Synod Secretary of South Africa still around? Reverend Swartz?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Reverend
Evening,
Clegg.
sir. Don't you want to just express a word of thanks and then conclude the session with a word of prayer?
Thank you very much, Reverend Clegg. To the Hugenote College representatives on the platform, on behalf of the UCCSA, we wish to extend our gratitude for setting time apart to have this information session, and for the work that you will continue to do and the new partnership we embrace. Reverend Clegg and Dr. Maseko, thank you very much for initiating this and doing all the background work to it. And we know it's hard work, and we can see and we hope and know it will pay off much fruit. So we wish each one of you a blessed Advent season, and can we pray together. Loving God and gracious Father and Mother, we give thanks for this time that we could be in this meeting, information session, the discussions, the questions and answers, and we pray for those that are eager to respond to the call of Evangelist. May you steer the ATMC and the Mission and Ministry Secretary and Director to help us to make this a success. We pray your blessings on each one of us. And now may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit rest and abide with us now and forevermore. Amen.
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 Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, everyone.
Amen. Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you,
night.
everyone.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
everyone.